Welcome to the Functional Medicine Radio Show with your host, Dr. Carri Drzyzga, known internationally as the Functional Medicine Doc. Dr. Carri is committed to helping patients find the root cause of their health problems and fixing the cause with natural treatments so they can feel normal again. Dr. Carri is the founder of Functional Medicine Ontario and is the author of the hit book, Reclaim Your Energy and Feel Normal Again. Please welcome your host, Dr. Carri Drzyzga.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Functional Medicine Radio Show, the only internet radio show dedicated to giving you real solutions to improve your health. Not only are they real solutions, but they're natural solutions as well. Because, as you know, the one and only true wealth you have is your health. I'm your host, Dr. Carri Drzyzga, the Functional Medicine Doc, and I'm committed to helping you find the root cause of your health problem, fix the cause with natural treatments, so you can feel normal again and live your life to the fullest. Just a quick bit of housekeeping before I introduce today's special guest. I'm happy to announce my first book is now in print. The title is Reclaim Your Energy and Feel Normal Again, Fixing the Root Cause of Your Fatigue with Natural Treatments. I've discovered 14 root causes of fatigue. I like to call them the fatigue factors, and in this book I explain 8 of the 14. I've had some amazing feedback on how easy it is to read and understand. It's not full of technical doctory language like most books written by doctors are. And of course, the book also includes my own personal fatigue story, along with 4 other stories from real fatigue cases from my private practice. It's available in paperback and Kindle form, so if you'd like a copy, you can find it on Amazon or on my website, www.drcarri.com. That's it for housekeeping, so let's get started. I'm very excited about this week's show because my special guest is someone that I greatly admire. His name is Brad Yates. Let me tell you a little bit about Brad. He is known internationally for his creative and often humorous use of emotional freedom technique, or EFT. Brad is the author of the best-selling children's book, The Wizard's Wish, the co-author of the bestseller Freedom at Your Fingertips, and was a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. He's also been a presenter at a number of events, including Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success. He's done teleseminars with the Secret stars, Bob Doyle and Dr. Vitale, and has been heard internationally on a number of internet talk radio shows. And he's done over 500 videos on YouTube. And he's a contributing expert on the Huffington Post. Brad, where do you have time for all of that?
You know, you squeeze it in here, you squeeze it in there.
Thanks so much for being my special guest today on this episode of the Functional Medicine Radio Show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on.
So most of our listeners, I don't think, have ever heard of EFT or emotional freedom technique. Actually, in my office, I was first exposed to emotional freedom technique through one of my patients. He's a dear patient of mine that I've been seeing since the early 2000s, and he was using EFT to help him. He was struggling with agoraphobia, which is a fear of leaving your house, and he would only kind of live within a 2 or 3 block radius, and he wouldn't delve any. He wouldn't go any further than that. And he used EFT to help get him over these phobias, and his scope of where he can travel is much larger now. But he was the first one that actually taught me about EFT. So, Brad, can you tell us, our listeners, about EFT, what it is and how it came about?
Yeah, certainly. So EFT, which is short for Emotional Freedom Technique, and a lot of people also just call it tapping these days. It's a process of tapping with your fingertips on key points around the face and the torso. And I know for a lot of people right now they're going, what? Why does Dr. Carri have someone on talking about tapping on your face? So it's based on acupuncture. And so for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy is disturbed in some way or stuck, then we don't feel so good. So in traditional acupuncture, they would stick needles in key places around the body to stimulate the healthy flow of energy. And it's been discovered that by tapping these points with your fingertips, you can stimulate these points and get the energy flowing again. So we clear out this discomfort. For instance, with your client with the agoraphobia. So what happens is when he thinks about going out into open spaces and all the imagined threats, there's a stress response, and the body freezes up and says, you can't do this. So in this instance, tapping on the points starts to calm that down, and we're able to look and say, okay, wait a minute, is that really a threat, or am I safer? And maybe these things that I'm afraid of are illusions, misunderstandings from the past. So we have that stress response that we feel both emotionally and physically. A great deal of our physical illness is stress related. So this tapping process calms the system down, allows us to relax, and then we have greater freedom to both feel better and to make better choices in life.
So EFT has been something that I've recommended to many of my patients over the many years that I've been in practice at Functional Medicine Ontario. I'm a firm believer, like you are, that the vast majority of health problems that we're seeing out there fundamentally have their roots, as the very root cause is some kind of a stress or emotional trauma. And I find that EFT can be really helpful because patients can do it, they can learn to do it themselves and do it in the privacy of their own homes, or they can find a great EFT practitioner, somebody like you, that can help guide them through that. But can you talk about how EFT can help people make better choices with their health and achieve better results with their health?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, sometimes I just say that emotional freedom is the freedom to make better choices, because we're making choices all day long. And some of them are very beneficial to our physical and emotional health and well-being. And for a lot of us, a great many of these choices are not quite so beneficial. So when we're looking at, should I exercise today or not? Well, I don't feel like it. Should I have vegetables or should I have ice cream? I think I'll have ice cream. So when we make enough of those unhealthy choices, our body, it takes a toll on our body. And most, if not all, of these choices are made at an emotional level. There's a part of us that's trying to take care of us in some way. I like to say that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. You know, when we're sabotaging our physical well-being by eating junk food, it's because part of us has this emotional belief that we will feel better by eating this. And so it's how we're dealing with things going on in our lives. Like, I know I should eat better, but you know, all of my programming tells me that ice cream or potato chips or a hamburger or whatever, these things are going to make me feel better. They're going to comfort me. And that's what I need right now. And it feels like a more immediate need than the long-term consequences of either eating well or not eating well. So that there's a stress response going on in the body. And when we use the tapping, we can clear out that stress response, and we can have more freedom to make the healthier choice, to say, oh, you know what? It's just as easy for me to have a healthy meal right now. It's just as easy for me to go for a walk right now than to sit and watch television. And so then we have that greater ability, that greater freedom to make those healthy choices.
Okay, so Brad, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Awesome.
I know EFT, works and everything, but I'm going to be devil's advocate for the other people
Please.
out there listening. How can EFT help somebody that has like intense cravings for certain foods? I get that question a lot from my patients, like, Dr. Carri, I know I should go gluten-free, but my God, I can't, like, the cravings for bread or the cravings for potato chips or the cravings for chocolate. How can EFT help with that?
Yeah. Awesome question. And it's because when we're making those choices, that craving is coming. There's a physical component to cravings, but even stronger than the physical component is an emotional component. We have so many associations in our mind about how these foods comfort us, how we feel happy. I mean, if you watch television and you see people exercising, like if you're watching a sporting event, they're all grimacing and they're sweating and they look like they're in pain. But if you watch an Olive Garden commercial where everybody's eating pasta, everyone is having the time of their lives. So we get all these associations in our mind. So when we're not feeling so great, something's bothering us, and we're looking and going, what would make me feel better? There's all this evidence, all this knowledge, quote unquote knowledge in our body that this is what's going to make me feel better. Potato chips are going to make me feel better. Ice cream is going to make me feel better. I mean, ice cream, it's all about birthday parties and celebrations. So there's all this happiness associated to eating these foods. So when we're trying to feel better, we go looking for that. So if we do the tapping to deal with the stress, then we have that freedom to say, I'm not having the craving. I might think that it might be nice to have some ice cream, but I could do without. And we can even get to the point of, I absolutely don't want that. When I first learned EFT, Gary Craig, the founder, he gave us all Hershey's Kisses, and I was a bit of a chocoholic at this time, and he said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want that? And I was at a good 8 or a 9. It's like, I really want that piece of chocolate. And we tapped for a few moments, and after just a few minutes of tapping, I had about as much interest in the chocolate as I did in the foil wrapper.
Wow.
I could not eat it. And in fact, I don't think I ate chocolate for nearly 2 years after that experience. It just had no appeal for me. And I go back and forth every so often. I'll, birthday cake or something like that, and then I'll go for months at a time without eating any sweets. And they can be in the house, and there's no craving. There's just a part of me that says, there's nothing I need from that. It has no nutritional value, and there's just no sense of craving because that emotional component of saying, I need this to feel better is gone.
That's phenomenal. And I want to share my first experience with EFT, because I think maybe some of the listeners out there might be thinking like, well, that kind of sounds too good to be true, or they kind of like rolling their eyes. And so, it sounds kind of woo-woo, but when this patient, like I said, this patient with agoraphobia, he brought in a DVD on EFT, and what I watched was this man who had a phobia of being in water, and they just kept doing the tapping, and they kept asking him, from 0 to 10, how would you rate your fear? And of course he started at like a 13, and then he eventually got down to a 0 where he was fully in the water. So he started like just dipping his toe in, and then he had it like was in the water up to his knees and then up to his waist. And then towards the end of this whole session of repeating the tapping, he was in the water up to his neck, and he would dunk his head under the water. So this is a man that had a complete fear of water. Like, I was just floored by that. So for the listeners out there who are thinking like, it just sounds too good to be true, like how can tapping do something like that? It's just really amazing how the mind and the body work. So, Brad, is EFT something that anybody could learn?
Absolutely. We've taught it to small children and used it with all kinds of folks in all kinds of professions and all kinds of walks of life. Sometimes folks may have physical restrictions as to where they're not able to physically do the tapping, but they can have someone tap on them, or some people do the tapping just mentally. And just thinking about tapping the points, we're able to stimulate, just like we can move parts of our body just by thinking, we're able to stimulate different parts of our body just with a thought. So, yeah, and I know that it does, definitely does sound very woo-woo, and when people see it for the first time, they're like, oh, are you kidding me? But we have, scientific research showing that stress is being reduced, dramatic reduction in cortisol levels, one of the stress hormones. So if you think about, we have a sympathetic nervous system where the mind responds to a threat and says, oh, I'm in a threatening situation, I need to go into fight or flight. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system where we're able to say, okay, you know what, the danger is past, and we're able to calm down now. And so that's what we're doing with the tapping, is we're triggering this parasympathetic nervous system, giving ourselves permission to reduce the stress response. So it is there's a lot more science to it than than it looks like at first.
But that one fact that it simply helps to lower cortisol and helps put your body more into a parasympathetic rest and digest kind of a state. I mean, just that part is that's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you look at the correlation between cortisol and weight gain, and just being able to reduce that for in terms of losing weight is a big factor.
In my practice, Brad, I focus on doing functional medicine, and a lot of my patients, I test their cortisol. I'll do saliva hormone testing, and I'll test their cortisol, and every single patient except for one has had their cortisol out of balance.
Yeah.
As we were saying earlier, that this really is a big reason why people have such, they're suffering from such terrible health.
Something that most people don't know. We don't have, for all the things that we learn as we grow up, very rarely are we taught effective methods of dealing with stress. Yeah. We're sort of just taught stress is just how it is, and you just deal with it, and totally oblivious, most of us, to all the possible consequences of carrying that stress in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, just suck it up.
Yeah. If you're not stressed, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. Brad, could you lead us through an EFT session right now, like just really briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be great. So what I'm gonna, you can tap with either hand on either side of the body, and I'm gonna just say, for the sake of demonstration, go ahead and use your right hand, and we're gonna tap with the fingertips of our index and middle finger. And so the first point we're gonna tap is on the side of the left hand. We'll call it the karate chop point. So if you were to imagine breaking a board with with a karate chop, it's right there on the edge of your hand. Just tapping there lightly. Just tap, 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 tap. Generally, we'll tap between 5 and 10 times on each point. As we go through it, we'll say different phrases, because we want to say different things to bring up what the issue is that's bothering us, rather than getting distracted. We want to be focusing on, what am I stressed out about, so that we can clear the stress around that issue. So some phrases might be longer, and so we may tap more than 10 times. Don't worry too much about getting it right. The intention is a big part of this. So just tapping there on the side of the hand. And the very basic of EFT would be to say, even though I have this issue. So in fact, let's go ahead and do this. Everyone, just go ahead and be aware of how much stress you might be feeling right now. Rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. And then just tapping on the side of the hand, say, even though I have this stress, I choose to love and accept myself.
So you have to say that out loud, Brad?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Repeat that.
Okay, so even though I have this stress, I choose to love and accept okay, hold on. Even though I have this stress, I choose to love and accept myself.
And just a quick caveat for everyone. When we're dealing with this, sometimes it's often like clearing the layers of an onion. And so we become aware of things that have been bothering us that we've been pretending weren't there. So it's like, you're looking at your room, your living room, and it looks clean, but you know that if you move the couch, you're going to find a lot of like dirty laundry you've been stuffing under the couch. So we're going in and we're moving the furniture. So if you feel some discomfort, the tapping should relieve the stress. However, if you know that you've been sticking barrels of toxic waste under your sofa and probably shouldn't be going in and cleaning up the room on your own, then you need to take full responsibility for your own well-being before you start tapping. You may want to wait until you've got someone there for emotional support, or you may want to wait till you can work with a practitioner. So with that being said, again, on the side of the hand, even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself. And then we're going to tap the eyebrow point. This is right at the beginning of the eyebrow, just above the nose, just about in the middle of your face, basically. Tapping right there and saying, all this stress. And tapping the side of the eye. So if you follow your eyebrow out to the outside corner of your eye socket, all this stress. And right under the middle of the eye, just above your cheek, all this stress. Right under the nose, just above your upper lip, all this stress. And right under your mouth, just above the chin, all this stress. And when you feel where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat. If you make a fist and tap right there where the collarbones just about meet, all this stress. And about 4 inches below your armpit, it's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that one is. Tapping right there, all this stress. And then at the top of your head, with all of your fingertips, tapping around a little circle around the crown of your head, all of this stress. And take a deep breath. And you may already feel that any stress that you had has already reduced. Now, when I go through this, I generally add more words in there, so we'll go one more round here, or 2 more rounds. So tap the eyebrow point. All this stuff that I'm stressed about. Side of the eye. There are things that are bothering me. Under the eye. And it doesn't feel too good. Onto the nose. It's affecting my health. Onto the mouth. And it's making it hard to think clearly. Collarbone. So maybe I'm not making the best choices. Onto the arm. And so I'm clearing this stress. Top of the head. Part of me believes I'm protecting myself. Eyebrow point. And I appreciate the concern. Side of the eye. I know I'm just trying to protect myself. Under the eye, because I'm feeling stressed out. Under the nose, and I'm allowing myself to relax. Under the mouth, allowing myself to see that it is safe to relax. Collarbone, allowing myself to calm down. Under the arm, allowing myself to make much better choices. Top of the head, feeling better in body, mind, and spirit. And take a deep breath. And if you were able to rate yourself before on a scale of 0 to 10 as to how much stress you were feeling, hopefully that number has come down. Sometimes it'll go from a 9 to a 0. Sometimes it'll go from a 9 to an 8.75 to an 8.5, depending on the stuff that's going on. And that's when we can look at it. And as I said, it's often like peeling the layers of an onion. We might become more aware of, oh, you know, I am stressed out is because I've got that meeting coming up tomorrow and I'm not ready. Or I've got, suddenly I'm remembering something that happened back in the 3rd grade. Something triggered an old memory and I'm feeling uncomfortable around that. So as we do the tapping, we start to become more aware of what might be going on, and then we can get more clarity about what that is and relax more.
So I'd say personally my stress went from an 8 to a 2.
Nice.
Doing that. And I was tapping. I don't know if the microphone picks some of that up because I'm wearing a headset and glasses, which is not easy to do, the tapping. But even though I wasn't saying it out loud, I was repeating what you were saying, in my head, and tapping all along. In the first round, well, I personally had a little bit of difficulty concentrating because I'm like, oh yeah, that's that acupuncture point, and yeah, that's that acupuncture point. So I'm like recognizing that, yeah, these are all acupuncture points.
Like A27.
Oh, yeah. So that's just the geeky, nerdy part of me. But then the second and the third time, I was able to just, stop thinking about acupuncture points and just focus on the process. So that is just That's super easy, and anybody can do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's right there at your fingertips, wherever you are. You know, now there may be times because it's not that well known yet. It's getting there. There's going to be a day when you can be out there in public and you'll see someone tap and you go, oh, they're clearing some stress. I think I might do that too.
Yeah.
But for right now, maybe if you're in a high level business meeting and the tension is high and other people are not informed and enlightened about this, that may not be the time to start tapping on your face. But you might be able to, excuse yourself to the restroom and go and do some tapping and calm yourself down and go, okay, I'm responding to threats, some of which are likely imagined, and I can allow myself to calm down.
So, like you said, that it's very simple. It's a very simple technique, and there can be a lot of layers to it depending on how much, I guess, for lack of better language, emotional baggage you're carrying around. And you definitely won't make yourself worse, but some of you will require a trained professional to be with you to guide you through doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there are some things that we, again, since self-sabotage is misguided self-love, there's a part of us that will hold on to our stuff. And so sometimes it requires someone else to help us move through that. We may not always let ourselves see what needs to be cleared. So someone else can help us push through that, to look at that stuff that we're saying, oh no, I don't need to move the couch. Everything's fine there.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can be the case of you can't see the forest despite the trees.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That it helps to have somebody else to see the bigger picture for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Brad, tell us about these, 300 plus videos you have on YouTube.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm getting close to 600 now, which amazes me because I can't even remember what they all are. So these are little videos that are anywhere between 3 and 15 minutes long on a whole bunch of different issues. Some are about physical health. Some are about emotional health. Some are about success issues, fear of success, relationship issues. And just because as we were going through the first round, just where we were saying all this stress, you can just talk about the issue and just say that whatever the one word is, and have great effect. And then in the second time around, I started talking about other things, and some people will, if they're new to this, will say, how do you come up with those words? So that's why I started making videos, so that you didn't have to come up with the words. You could just follow along and listen to my words. And as you go through, then you'll start to get more familiarity and more comfort with coming up with your own words.
So we tended to focus today on how you can use EFT to help with your health. But what you're saying is that EFT can also help with your relationships and with your career, with finances, with goal setting and whatnot?
Pretty much anywhere you show up in life, this is a technique that can help you show up in a healthier, freer way.
So Brad, we're starting to run low on time, so how can our listeners find out more about you? Do you have a YouTube channel? What is your website? Are you on Facebook?
I am on all of those things, and Twitter. You can find my website at tapwithbrad.com. And on there's a link to my videos, which is EFT Wizard is my YouTube channel. And and there's different playlists if you want to focus on different particular issues like relationships or finances or whatever it might be.
Fantastic. So I'll make sure that for our listeners, we have all of those links in our podcast notes so that they can easily find those resources.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brad, thank you so much for being my special guest today. This has just been such an awesome interview.
Oh, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
All right, that wraps up this very special episode of the Functional Medicine Radio Show with Brad Yates. And I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. And I'd like to invite you back next week for another episode of the Functional Medicine Radio Show. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Carri Drzyzga, the Functional Medicine Doc. Have a great week, everyone.
You've been listening to the Functional Medicine Radio Show with your host, Dr. Carri Drzyzga, known internationally as the Functional Medicine Doc. Dr. Carri is committed to helping patients find the root cause of their health problems and fixing the cause with natural treatments so they can feel normal again. Dr. Carri is the founder of Functional Medicine Ontario and is the author of the hit book, Reclaim Your Energy and Feel Normal Again. Please tell your friends about the Functional Medicine Radio Show, and we'll see you next week with more from Dr. Carri.